You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Steven Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey, Shaun Priest, how are you doing this fine Wednesday?
I am stressed, Steven Scott, but I'm doing well. How are you?
Do you know what? I've got to say, we're going to talk today about some big news that has come out. I don't know if you've been, Breaking news. NeuraLink have received breakthrough device designation from the FDA in the US for Blindsight. This is the product that we talked about a couple of years back. They had announced this at a big press conference, and they were talking all about how this product could help people who had no vision at all one day see. We're going to dig into that. But I've got to say, before we do, you've been having incredible issues this morning with your internet connection. And I'm thinking, you know, in a world that is seemingly needing to have good internet to function, and, you know, we're looking at technology as the solution to everything, including potentially restoring our eyesight, I'm not entirely convinced anymore based on the fact that you can barely get connected to the internet.
I know, but it's rock solid for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then as soon as you hit that record button, bang, there's your internet gone. What happens? I have no idea. And then you go around resetting every bit of Wi-Fi equipment, every router you've got, and just asking, you know, your lady A, tell me the time. And it goes, bong, sorry, I'm not connected to the internet. And your heart just dies a little bit. But yes, thankfully I'm back.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think it's, and I'm going to use a word which will be very popular with our French-Canadian listeners.
Oh.
Sabotage! Saboteur! I blame him. He's been in unplugging things.
I think that's, coincidence.
Have we
you
cancelled?
Decide. No, I don't think so. No. He was questioning us. He was doubting Double Tap, Steven Scott. I don't want to say anything because, you know.
Because of Prime Day.
Yes, he said, are you sure Prime Day is on October? It feels like I'm talking out of school, but God bless you, Mr. F. But, you know, let's be open and honest.
Let's be open and honest about this conversation, because I wasn't part of it. He called you.
Yes.
And
he wanted
I'm going to be honest, you did admit on the call, you were a bit flaky. You almost picked a number out of the air and said, that's the bus number we're chucking Steven under today.
I did not. I said, well, maybe it's different in Canada because he said it was in July. And I said, well, no, it's definitely October 7th to October 9th. But I said, maybe it's different around the world. But no, to be fair to Mr. F, he did say, no, I found it. You are right. I will never doubt Double Tap again. Or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah, that might be bad advice. It's also 8th and 9th, just to be very clear.
Oh, yeah, I got it wrong already.
Well done, Shaun. I can't believe I'm the one picking you up on facts, but there we go.
I'm stressed.
So, look, let's calm down. Everything's fine.
Okay, cure me. Make me see again.
Hang on. I just got a message on my computer. Updates available. Oh, no. Not right now.
Please.
I'm not. Listen, I've heard some rumors about macOS Sequoia. Which is what my computer is probably forcing me to update as we speak. If I disappear, if there's no show today, if this doesn't make it to air, so one of those reverse tapes that you get, you know, if you're watching this. Well, if you're not listening to this, it's because macOS Sequoia killed me. I've been holding off, actually, because I did update to iOS 18. I didn't update to macOS Sequoia, and actually reading last night, a lot of people having issues, voiceover crashing quite a lot. Also, a lot of people annoyed about this Apple Watch mirroring, or Apple iPhone mirroring feature, I should say, on the macOS. So you can basically have your iPhone appear
on
your screen. Yeah. But you can't control it because it doesn't work with voiceover.
No way. You know what? I watched some YouTube videos of people using that, saying it's the most amazing thing ever. And I'm sure they were using the left and right arrow keys to navigate through it. So I just assumed it would work with voiceover. And of course, as we always say, it's Apple. Of course it'll be accessible.
Well, the issue, I think, is that it's not transferring the audio from voiceover across, which you would think it would do. And I guess that might be a little bit of a complication because you've got two voiceovers running at once. So I don't know how they're going to get around that.
No. It's just streaming audio. Yeah. It could be to do... Have you noticed, you know, for the longest time now, when you AirPlay something across, the voiceover stays on your phone. So
yes,
maybe it's to do with that. yeah, I'm sure it'll be sorted.
Yeah, you know that thing in iOS 18, oh, actually 17, I think they maybe came in earlier, but they had this audio destination thing where, you know, essentially if you were connecting to a Bluetooth speaker, you didn't always want the voiceover voice to go with it to the speaker. If you're playing music out the Bluetooth speaker, ideally you would want to have voiceover remain on the phone. And they got that sorted out. But now it seems if it does transfer the audio or the voiceover speech, there's no way to get it back. This audio destination thing doesn't seem to do anything. Maybe that's changed. I hope it's changed.
Yes,
because that was actually quite annoying. But anyway, yes. Speaking of technology, on Double Tap, I know. But speaking of technology, NeuraLink, as I've mentioned, has received this breakthrough device designation from the FDA in the States for Blindsight. Now, I find this quite interesting because it sounds to me like they've not maybe rushed this through, but they've certainly pushed this through a little bit. I'm talking about the FDA here. Why they would have done that so quickly, I don't know. And what this means, I mean, I guess it means we can move on to trials of this. We've already seen trials of the device for people who are physically impaired, but you know, for people who are visually impaired or blind entirely, this is something which Elon Musk says and has said in a message today, or yesterday, I should say. He said it will enable even those who have lost both eyes and their optic nerve to see. I don't think you lose your optic nerve. I think you just...
I'm sorry, I hate that statement.
Quite sure how that works.
Because it won't...
Can you lose your optic nerve? Is that...
No,
I've lost my nerve, but...
It will shrivel away or it get damaged. No, you can't lose it. But whatever. This is a terrible statement because I hate statements like this. It's simply not true.
Well, it goes on to say, provided the visual cortex is intact, it will even enable those who have been blind from birth to see for the first time. Now, he then goes on in a separate statement to talk about the type of vision you would get with something like this.
Okay, this is the caveat. Okay.
And he says it's a little bit like Atari graphics at this stage, not very low resolution images that you would see, but that he says should change in the future and according to him, will improve beyond even, the best vision. So, I mean, I suppose that's potentially possible. I think you could say that.
Anything is
there's ways to do that.
Possible. I just think you've got to be so careful. And we talked about this before when they first announced the NeuraLink technology. And yes, there's been some advances in people who are paralyzed being able to control computers, which we've seen before anyway. Even without implants, we've seen that with electrodes on caps worn over the head, on the exterior of the body. We've seen people being able to do that. So that technology is established, and maybe this is a new way to do it with an implant, and it's all very cool. And of course, the research should be there. I just hate it when they come out and say, because it's just a headline-grabbing soundbite. We are nowhere near, and even using the term Atari graphics is so far from the truth. When they first announced this, one of the technicians behind it, I don't know what you call them, engineers, whatever, one of the boffins actually working on it, were talking about flashes of light, being able to create flashes of light in the visual cortex for the people. That's how people experience it. We're not talking about, a 640 by 480 resolution and then in the future it'll be 4K. We're not even there yet.
Yeah, we're barely at sketch drawings at this point, right? I mean,
exactly. If that. I just think you've got to be so careful because there's people out there who are clinging on to the hope that this technology or a cure is coming and is just around the corner, and it stops you living your life. I know I'm getting a little bit serious, but I honestly, as someone who was, when I was diagnosed, started looking everywhere, and parents started looking everywhere for a cure. There was a way to fix this, surely, what medicine can do nowadays. I think you've got to be so careful with this. It's so early on. Just the phrase, the blind will see, because that's going to be every headline in every mainstream news outlet.
Well, of course. But I think that's going to happen anyway, and I don't think you can do anything about that.
I'm not blaming anyone for that, no.
You have to just let that one go, because it will happen anyway. I'm more interested in the facts here around this, because I am intrigued by what he's doing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a bit of hope. I think you're right, though. I think it's about balancing hope with living your life every day, because this is not going to change overnight. This is not going to come along tomorrow. It's like driverless cars. I get probably equally as excited about driverless cars because I can see the potential independence that would give me. I mean, the great irony of driverless cars is that if driverless cars and Blindsight came along at the same time, I'd still never be able to drive a car. Because there wouldn't be any cars to drive. They'd all be driving themselves. I'm like, hey, I can drive. Oh, actually, no, I can't because they're all
Whichever
driverless.
way, you're going to be disappointed. Is that what you said?
Exactly.
I've got my
I'm going to be miserable by the end of it. That's right. But let's actually hear from them, because I want to go back to 2022. It was December when NeuraLink was kind of announced to the world in a press conference. And we did cover it at the time quite extensively. But I want to go back to that because it does contain, and it's really the only time we've heard a lot of detail, or as much detail as we know even today, because despite the advances in technology even in the past couple of years, in terms of NeuraLink, the purpose, the process has been pretty similar, pretty static across the board. And I think that's a good thing to some degree, because we at least know what's coming. But let's hear first off from Elon Musk, who kind of introduces us to the idea of NeuraLink generally.
The overarching goal of NeuraLink is to create ultimately a whole brain interface. So a generalized input-output device that, in the long term, literally could interface with every aspect of your brain, and in the short term, can interface with any given section of your brain and solve a tremendous number of things that cause debilitating issues for people. So the first two applications we're going to aim for in humans are restoring vision. And I think this is like notable in that even if someone has never had vision ever, like they were born blind, we believe we can still restore vision. Because the visual part of the cortex is still there. Even if they've never seen before, we're confident that they could see. And then the other application being in the motor cortex, where we would initially enable someone who has almost no ability to operate their muscles, sort of like a sort of Stephen Hawking type situation, and enable them to operate their phone faster than someone who has working hands. But then even better than that would be to bridge the connection. Take the signals from the motor cortex, and let's say somebody's got a broken neck, then bridging those signals to NeuraLink devices located in the spinal cord. So we're confident there are no physical limitations to enabling full body functionality. As miraculous as it may sound, we're confident that it is possible to restore full body functionality to someone who has a severed spinal cord.
So that was NeuraLink being announced back in 2022, just at the tail end of the year. And it kind of gave us an insight into the thinking of what NeuraLink would do, potentially. It's a very difficult topic, this one, because I think in our community, there are a lot of people now who don't like talking about fixes or cures. We have a disability. It's, society's problem, not our problem. There's nothing wrong with us. This is a lot of the kind of rhetoric that goes on in our community right now. But that, I think, dismisses a lot of views in our community from people who don't feel that way, who do want to be, in quotes, fixed, who would want their vision back if they could have it. There's always an argument to say that someone who's never had vision at all may feel in some ways more disabled by having vision. That is true. There are friends of mine who are totally blind who would want no vision back or any vision at all because they never had any. And they would feel more disabled by it. They wouldn't understand their surroundings. They'd have to relearn their world. Well, I don't know. Look, but again, the point is that I feel look, you know me, right? I want all views. I want to hear everyone's approach to this, right? I'm not the one true opinion guy, okay? If you have a view on this, come tell me about it. You may agree, you may disagree. I don't mind. Come, let's have the discussion. But I think the problem is there are sections of our community who are very keen to promote this idea that society is to blame for, essentially disabling us. We don't have disabilities. Society puts disability on us. And there are many people out there, and I'm not talking just about blind people, but there are plenty of people who wake up every day and the last thing they want to be is disabled. And it's not society that's doing it. You can complain, you can get annoyed, but every single morning when I wake up and this hand of mine is shaking so violently that I can't type, that I can't double tap my phone, that's not society's fault. That's my hand's fault. Okay? So let's not get away from the facts here. Let's not lose ourselves in rhetoric. Let's not lose ourselves in academic ideas, which sound wonderful to, a bunch of people sitting around who've got PhDs, but to real people, it's just nonsense. PhDs. There are a lot of people out there who do not feel, and I'm one of them, who do not feel that disability is someone else's problem. I know what my disability is. I know how it came about. I know what happened. It's a physical condition. Mm-hmm. And I want it fixed if I can. So that's why I look at stories like this and I think, yeah, I'm interested. I'm not going to get bogged down in it to the point that I'm, waiting for the next tweet from Elon Musk to find out if he's fixed blindness yet. But the fact is that there's another side to this, which is the Elon Musk side of the story. And I really get annoyed by people who just go on and on and on about how bad Elon Musk is and he's a terrible man and he's done these terrible things. And, it's like, look at what he's actually done. Look at what he's actually created. Now, you can argue the man, you can argue his stance on things, you can argue his views, whatever you like, do whatever you want. But let's not forget the fact that he's doing something. And I often say to the people who usually shout the most, I'm like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing to sort out space flight or, sort out people's eyes or, physical impairments? Well, you tell me what you're up to, right? You're just sitting there, keyboard warrior, tapping away, going, I don't like him because he bought Twitter. Oh, get over yourself.
Okay. Wow, there's so many rants in there. I don't know where to start, Stephen Scott. That was a multifaceted rant there. Well done. Look, I don't care. Yes, we can get into the are we broken? Do we need fixing argument? I don't go with that at all. Yes, of course we do. We're missing a sense that can make life easier and totally change your life.
I often say to people, sorry, I will say this. I often say to people who, say things like, well, blindness is almost, it's almost like people are saying, and this is the bit I don't understand. Why is it people who tell you that disability is not a bad word almost talk about disability as if it doesn't exist? Because if disability is society's problem, and therefore whatever society does makes it possible for you to do whatever you want to do and therefore not make you feel disabled, then you're no longer disabled. In which case, what is disability?
Yeah, that's just a...
Do you know what I mean? It's like, so suddenly you're starting to erase the very word you're championing. I don't understand that. I don't understand that logic.
It isn't logic. It's an exercise in philosophy. And
exactly. People with PhDs sitting around saying, oh, I've thought of a great idea. Right, it's the same people who come up with the word nonsense. Let's change words because it'll just upset people.
Relax. I mean, I'm ignoring that because, we can have a discussion about that another time. And I'm sure people will be emailing feedback@doubletaponair.com with your opinions. I just want to talk. Yes, Elon has sort of ruined his reputation in some of his actions, some of his tweets. Mm-hmm, I agree. But I agree with you that the impact he's had on various tech is incredible. So you can't deny that. And you don't need to like the guy to be able to say he's made a difference. Steve Jobs is another example of that. I think some people, when it comes to some of his actions, some of his personality traits.
Here's a shocker for you, Shaun. I'm going to teach you something. It's a teachable moment here for you and for everyone else who doesn't understand this. People are not perfect. Yeah. No one is perfect. And if you think you're perfect, I guarantee you're not.
Yes. Agree.
In fact, if you think you're perfect, you're even less perfect than you think you are. I'll go that far.
The point is, when it comes to this story, I'm ignoring all those offshoot rants. The point is, when it comes to the NeuraLink...
You're doing well.
I'm trying my best. The point is, how close, how tangible is this dream? And I'm not saying it's not a potential result.
No, I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
No, yeah, but I do. I'm sorry. You cannot come out and give people these sort of... Even when it comes to spinal injuries, how many people who maybe have had an accident who are just drowning in grief at the minute are looking towards something like this saying, I am going to be fixed. And as I said, you waste your life waiting to be fixed.
But you don't think, honestly, the people that are in that position are thinking that way anyway? I mean, would you not rather someone who's in that position is thinking, well, at least there's some hope, at least someone's doing something, at least some work is being done here to try and solve this issue for me, as opposed to there's no hope at all, and the life I'm facing, the misery I feel is just going to continue every day until I die. That's not, I think, a great way to live either.
Yeah, but the misery you feel, is going to be for the rest of my life simply isn't true. But that isn't fixed anyway by, there's this technology carrot, if you will, dangling in front of you. The truth of the matter is no one who has one of these injuries right now are going to see the benefits or any results of this trial in their lifetime.
Well, we know one person has.
I'm going to say that.
We know one person has, the guy who was in the trial, the first human trial. And, he seems to be raving about it.
I'm not saying that. Look, the difference between being able to control a computer with your mind, absolutely fantastic, of course. But then what people are waiting for is the full body mobilization, which he mentioned there. The full body control again. And in our case, people who have been blind forever from birth or wherever, people who are totally blind being able to have their full
you'd
sight
be one of those
back.
guys. You'd be one of those people when they announced the moon landing. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, until I see it, until I see a little spaceman walking around on the moon, I'm not interested because it's all just bunkum.
Let's not poke that particular bear because I'm not getting into
yeah,
that.
I know. We'll get all the conspiracy. We're on YouTube now, so we'll have all the conspiracy theorists pointing to the moon
I'm saying
landing
we
fake.
need to be very factual of where we are at and the timescale involved. Simply saying, hey, this technology could cure your blindness.
But I'm not saying that.
I know you're not, but Elon is.
I don't know if he's even saying that,
He
to be
said
perfectly
it
honest.
quite
I know. He's
blatantly.
announcing a product. What do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to come out on stage and go, now this thing is absolutely not going to be here anytime soon. It might not even work.
Yes.
I
expect him to be
invest millions,
professional.
please. Invest millions.
I expect him to be professional and responsible and say, this is a really interesting trial of a new technology we are implanting that can have the potential to make differences to these disabilities, not to cure them.
Listen, you mentioned earlier the boffin, as you call them. I call them men with PhDs.
Yes.
No, you're joining in. I like it. So you mentioned that this guy Dan, who took to the stage, I have no idea what his second name is because everyone kept calling him Dan, but he took to the stage in 2022 as well, and he kind of detailed a bit more about how Blindsight would work.
I came to work at NeuraLink after following a career in visual neuroscience research. I was inspired to join this company because I saw in our device the potential to restore vision to people rendered blind by eye injury or disease. There are a number of particular characteristics of our device that make it uniquely suited to this application. Firstly, as well as being able to record from every channel, we can stimulate neural activity in the brain by injecting current through every channel. This is important because it allows us to bypass the eye and generate a visual image in the brain directly. Secondly, our device can have an enormous number of electrodes. For a visual prosthesis, this is important because the more electrodes you can have, the higher density of an image you can create in the brain. Thirdly, thanks to our robot, we can insert these electrodes deeply into the brain. Now, this is an important thing for a visual prosthesis because the human visual cortex is buried deeply in a fold in the medial face of the brain called the calcarine sulcus. In this image, I've highlighted the calcarine sulcus in red in an MRI. It contains a map of the visual world, the visual field. It's about a surface area equal to a credit card on each side. And if you unfold it and flatten it, you see that the image is inverted, it's upside down. But more interestingly, it's distorted so that the central part of the visual field, the fixation point, is greatly magnified. So for example, if you look at this image of Lincoln, if you look directly into his right eye, everything to the left of that fixation point is directed to your right visual cortex, and everything to the right goes to your left visual cortex. His eye, even though it's very small in the image, is magnified in the brain to occupy nearly a quarter of the surface area of the visual cortex. Over the last half century, visual neuroscientists have developed a profound understanding of visual processing in the brain. What's driven most of this research is recording from single cells in the cortex, usually of macaque monkeys. One of the seminal discoveries was that every cell in the visual cortex represents only a tiny part of the visual field. Your perception is made up of a mosaic of tiny receptive fields, each belonging to a single cell in your visual cortex. So if you record from one of these cells in a monkey, say in this location, you can find a very tiny region of the screen where a light stimulus will cause modulation of that neuron. Another location in visual cortex will have a location elsewhere on the screen, in this case in the lower visual field. These regions are called receptive fields. We've inserted our device into the visual cortex of 2 rhesus monkeys, whose names are Code and Dash. That means we can record activity from their visual cortex generated by their normal home environment as they roam around. But as we all know, monkeys love banana smoothie. That means we can easily teach them to fixate points on a screen and reward them. We can reward them very precisely because we can track the location of their eye using an infrared camera. One of the things this allows us to do is to plot the receptive fields for every neuron that we can record with a single device. Now we do this by showing the animal a movie of random checkerboards whilst he fixates steadily on the screen. Then we take only the frames of the movie that generated a response in the cell and average them all together. This is a technique known as reverse correlation. It's generally used quite widely in visual neuroscience for this purpose. And this is an example of a receptive field plotted with this technique. The central cross is the fixation point, and you can see the little red and blue regions of excitatory and inhibitory receptive field. These regions give cortical cells some of their characteristic properties. With 1,000 electrodes, we might be able to produce an image resembling something that you see there on the right. But as Avinash told you, our next generation of the device will have 16,000 electrodes. If you put a device on both sides of your visual cortex, that would give you 32,000 points of light to make an image in someone who's blind. Our goal will be to turn the lights on for someone who's spent decades living in the dark.
So thanks, Dan. And yeah, a little bit of clickbait at the end there, I won't lie.
Turn the lights on. Again, playing on the fear. We've talked about this before. How do you live in the dark? Yeah, sorry. It annoys me.
Yeah, I get that. But then I also listened to the other bit, which I thought was really interesting. And the other part, I think, although I must admit I probably understood about 20% of it, I think, it's important to understand what they're doing. And understand what the aim is here. Because I think the problem is sometimes people get the idea that Elon Musk just woke up yesterday and thought, let's get the blind people seeing, and then suddenly, let's just make something. There is a lot of development. There's a lot of work going on in the background to do this, and I think it's important we hear some of that.
And I'm not saying that the intentions behind it aren't great and grandiose and fantastic and well-intentioned. Could be. I'm not saying it shouldn't take place. Of course these trials should take place. Absolutely. The only thing I object to is those sound bites. Is as I say, I believe that this gives false hope to people. Be open and honest with what stage we're at with this technology. Flashes in monkeys. That was 2 years ago. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens. Great. I'm all for research. I'm all for technology. I'm all for something that helps. But let's just, let's curb those expectations.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts as always. Please do get in touch and tell us your thoughts. Here's how you can do it.
Call the Double Tappers now, 1-877-803-4567, or email us, feedback@doubletaponair.com.
Now, as we all know, I love online shopping. I can't get enough of it. And hopefully there's a new service coming along that's going to make it easier and more accessible. To tell me more about it is Patrick Long from Innosearch AI. Hello, Patrick. Welcome to Double Tap.
Hey, Shaun. How are you?
I'm really good.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
No problem at all. Thanks for joining us. So tell me more. Innosearch AI, how is it going to make it easier for me to shop and more accessible?
Sure, I would love to. Innosearch AI basically is an e-commerce platform, very similar to your Amazons or your Walmarts of the world. But the main difference of Innosearch is we make it incredibly simple for online shopping to occur. We make it such that there are no ads, no extraneous suggestions or things that might throw the user off. And we make it so it's very compatible with all the popular screen readers like NVDA, Apple VoiceOver. So blind and low vision users can easily find the product they need, quickly understand what they're purchasing, and go through a very simple 1 or 2 click checkout flow.
So, okay, let's talk real world here. Why would I use Innosearch instead of just going to, let's say, Amazon directly? What benefits have we got?
Yeah, so today, say you want to go on Amazon, you're looking for, say, some t-shirts or a piece of art, right? You type in your query, you might find a t-shirt or a piece of art that doesn't have the proper alt text, right? So you're not really sure what you're purchasing. The retailer has put in certain descriptors, but they might not be sufficient for you because you're blind and visually impaired. That's a common issue we've heard from a lot of our users, right? They try to find a product, but the retailer didn't do the work or don't have the proper descriptor. So they're not really sure what's being described in the product images.
Yeah.
So Innosearch takes it one step further, right? So we have an AI chatbot that allows you to interact directly with the items, right? So you can, in a sense, chat with your photo, right? And then you can really understand what you're purchasing. You know, if the first response isn't that great, you can ask it to describe it again, right? So you're really sure what you're buying before you actually purchase it. So we try to do a much better job than your Amazon or your Walmart because we're building this specifically tailored for the blind and visually impaired.
Got you. Okay, so you mentioned you aggregate shopping across the internet. So what services or what stores do you cover?
So today we cover Amazon, Walmart. Obviously, those are the big, most popular retailers. We also aggregate products from popular deal sites like Slick Deals or Deal News. So daily, when a lot of their users find the best quality products at the lowest prices, we also carry all of those products as well. So you might see brands like Adidas, Costco, Wayfair. I mean, there's just millions of products that you can find on Innosearch. So we're not limited to any particular retailer. Basically, you know, the best retailers with the best prices, high quality products you can find on our site.
Okay, so let's say I find the product I want. It's searched through the various stores. Do I need to choose the store, or do you just do a global search of all of those you mentioned?
That's right. There's a global search that's done, and then you can just chat with the AI to understand exactly the type of product you're looking for. And if it's something you like, you can add to cart and go ahead with the checkout. We have free returns and warranty on everything, just as if you bought it directly from that retailer itself. So yeah, it's a whole inclusive experience.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, and you've kind of answered it already, but so we're not buying directly from the outside store. Again, let's use Amazon as an example. I'm actually checking out through your service itself, and then you're placing the order.
Exactly. So we have relationships directly with a lot of the retailers. So when you make your purchase on Innosearch, we do our magic, black box magic that makes a lot of the orders happen. And basically you're delivered by whatever retailer you order from.
Okay, and how is that done? Do you have a team of human beings who are processing the order after I click the Buy Now button on Innosearch.ai, or is that all done automatically?
Yeah, so there's some automation and some human work, but as we scale and as the user base grows, of course, I think we'll invest more into the automation. Right now, it's I would say half automated and half manual,
Yeah,
but that's nothing the user has to worry about. I mean, they just get their product, right? And
that's all that matters.
yeah, that's the most important thing, right?
So obviously, we can see the benefits there, right? Accessible from the start, from the core, if you like, for screen reader users. That's fantastic. The power of AI to do ask further questions, get image descriptions. That's fantastic. Where's the catch? How is this funded? Do we have to pay a subscription? Do we pay a little extra cost for the products itself?
No, so the products actually are you'll find either similarly priced or slightly lower than what you find on the retailers. And the way we're able to do that is because of commission sharing. So a lot of the costs associated with the product, yeah, we basically get a small 1 or 2% return from Amazon for putting orders through their site, right, or any other retailer. So there's no need to worry about that from a user perspective. You get the lowest possible price, and right now we're just operating at break even because we want to grow the platform as fast as possible. But later on, we're exploring adding other verticals like travel. So might be able to book flights or hotels, right? But the prices you see on InnoSearch will always be at least the same price as what you'll find anywhere else. The company makes money through like commission sharing or referral program sharing directly from the retailer. So that's all on the back end and nothing the user has to see.
Perfect. Okay, so there's no extra cost involved to the end user at all. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, I know shopping online is very competitive, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of options, obviously. So I think at the very minimum, the price should be the same, right? What you would find anywhere else. Yeah, I think that's a very important requirement.
No, I totally agree with you, but sometimes it does seem that you do need to pay when it comes to, accessibility. Sometimes we're so used to paying that little bit extra for that, well, the accessibility, as I said. So it's good to hear that this isn't the case here. Now, can I ask the AI aspect of it? Now, you mentioned what it's currently doing. Is there any plans to go further with that? I mean, I would love to go to a website and simply say, hey, I'm looking for a dress shirt, black, 52-inch chest with certain buttons at this price range, and have it go off and search and then come back with the options. Is that anything you're planning to implement?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. I was speaking with Brian, our CTO, about this yesterday. Actually, we've talked to a lot of our users. We've had over 300 plus blind and visually impaired users use Innosearch just in the last couple of months. So we got a lot of valuable feedback. And some of the folks we talked with said it's sometimes difficult to enter in like very small text. Some small text might be hard to see on the website. They do encounter some glitches, right? And we talked about sort of new feature that could solve a lot of that. And like you mentioned, voice commands on the website seem very promising because it will create a seamless experience where a user could just using their voice search for that exact item they're looking for, and through AI, right? As you know, I'm sure you've tried to use ChatGPT. It's very good at summarizing huge amounts of data, right? So the user could simply ask a question, say, I'm looking for the best tennis shoes. And then the AI would respond, I found, 5 pairs matching your query. And then you can have a conversation, right? And using these voice commands, you can find exactly what you need and make the purchase very seamlessly. So that's a feature that we're exploring and something definitely on our roadmap because I think, not only for the blind and visually impaired, I think even somebody like, a senior like my father, right, would definitely appreciate that because nowadays the user experience is getting so complicated online, right? There's so many pop-ups, so many screens you have to navigate. it can be pretty challenging for somebody who just wants something very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the idea behind the Lady A smart speaker, right? I mean, giving people easy, convenient access to do some shopping. It just never worked out that way because it just wasn't smart enough. And it actually took longer to try and do a voice conversation to order something than just to jump on the website. But now with the power of AI, I'm hoping that's going to change, especially with what you're offering here. So that sounds fantastic.
That's right. And we're a startup, right? And our philosophy is rapid iteration. So the way we think of it is we have users who have various things that they struggle with daily. We want to solve their problems, and as we solve them and we learn what else they need what else they need help with, we'll continually rapidly improve our product so that we really have something that makes their lives a lot more independent and something that they don't constantly need to bug their friends or family for help. I'm sure that's super annoying for a lot of folks, and they want to have that. They want to have that independence back.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're totally right. So I read that it's sadly currently only available in the US. So have we got plans that I could use this here in the UK?
So this week we plan to expand to Canada. And soon after that, in the following week, we will expand to the United Kingdom. Based on the results of that and user feedback, we may continue to expand to all other English-speaking countries. So, yeah, that's what's on the roadmap.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, that sounds really good. So if people want to find out more and give this a try, maybe, this is live now, right, Patrick?
Yep, it's live. You can go to Innosearch AI, INNOSEARCH.ai. And for all new customers, we're giving $5 off of $20 or more. I mean, the prices are already rock bottom. I challenge you to find a lower price on the internet. But on top of that, we're also giving you $5 off. So just create an account, and you can use the code OFF5, OFF5 at checkout. And give it a try. And if there's any feedback, feel free to email us. We're definitely all ears and moving quickly. So we want to build a product that the blind and visually impaired community loves.
Okay, sounds great. Patrick Long, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
And that was Shaun Priest talking to Patrick Long from Innosearch AI, speaking to him earlier. And Shaun, fantastic news you bring us as well. It's coming to Canada this week, UK very soon. That's brilliant.
It is. Well, I mean, another accessible option. That's always great news for us, and coming to Canada this week, as you said. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy. I really want to try this out. I have seen it sort of spun in social media, not from the company themselves, but from other people saying this is the AI shopping experience. I'm not entirely sure about that. This is basically another store on top. But the fact that they're committed to accessibility and they're using AI in a novel way to get the image descriptions is very good, by the way.
Yeah,
a lot of people are using Be My Eyes to, check the images from places like Amazon already to get more information. So having that built in is really cool. So yeah, I'm intrigued to try this. And of course, if they're lower prices, even better.
Even better, yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I think that what I like about this is, sometimes getting a focus onto the image to get the description can be a real challenge. So you can go into an app, on Amazon, for example, I've had this a few times. You go to the app, you go to a particular, like maybe it's a t-shirt or something, and you're kind of wanting to check, like in our case, we want to wear things that don't have logos on them, right? Because we upset Mr. F.
Yes.
So, because, he doesn't get any whiskey money out of that. So, obviously there's no brand allowance over here. So, for that reason, we want to buy t-shirts that don't have a brand, and you want to check these things. I had a friend who, was buying a Bluetooth speaker. He wanted to know if that speaker had an auxiliary input with 3.5 mil, auxiliary input on it. And he was able to question the image, but, he was able to find the image. I have had issues with that. So, this all being part of the AI, essentially a conversational, chatbot, essentially, providing you the information, and it's built with blind people in mind. I think that's very interesting. Yes, I'm very keen to get hands on and try this, because if that's the way I can access Amazon from now on, I'll use that.
And there's been some, as is the case with a lot of places and apps, sometimes you load up the Amazon app and you think, hang on, what's happened? Suddenly the headings aren't quite as accessible as they used to be. And
One
it changes.
update kills it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times has that happened? You hear about, this wonderful app. And it's funny because we're obviously talking about the App of the Week feature. Thank you, by the way, for all your suggestions for the renaming of the App of the Week feature. We'll get to those, but there's so many suggestions coming in. You can keep them coming. Feedback at doubletaponeo.com. 1-877-803-4567 is the number if you want to leave us a voicemail. I want to mention AT Guys, our good friends Michael Babcock and the team over there at AT Guys, which is online, an online store, which sells around the world, actually, and you can see pricing in your currency. They've are now stocking the micro speak recorder that we talked about. This is fantastic news. Selling it for $70 US, $97 Canadian, and that is £54 in the UK. AT Guys now stocking this. This is a very small. Well, it's a very simple handheld recorder. It speaks as well. It's a really cool little device, very simple, minimal amount of buttons, easy to transfer recordings off of the device onto your computer. I mean, we're talking simple here, and I think that this is not it's not feature rich, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
It doesn't need to be. Yes,
no, exactly.
An accessible, handy, easy to use dictaphone.
It's funny, right? Because I was thinking the other day, I'd kind of want to label a few things around the home, and obviously Braille's one way of doing it. But I was, for various reasons, I'm thinking, right, okay, so a couple things I want to label the word, because I'm writing and reading in grade 1. I couldn't fit the words onto what I'm trying to put the label onto. So I thought, okay, let's think about this. So NFC tags is one. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
I am considering buying myself a new pen friend. This Pen Friend 3 is out now. And I actually really like the Pen Friend. I've got to say, I think it's a brilliant little device. And you get so many. I was on I think it was the RNIB store I was looking at here in the UK. And there are other places you can get it from around the world. And CNIB's, Smart Life Centre and AT Guys, I'm sure, although I'm not sure if they sell it, but they're one reseller of specialist aids. This was a really cool thing because you get so many different types now of buttons, magnets, labels, laundry tags now that you can sort of use with the Pen Friend. It's really cool.
Okay, I know the Pen Friend is incredibly popular. I'll look for an app to do that.
Yes, it's all very well saying that though, but then the problem is you're kind of relying on that app being accessible. Yes. Again, this goes back to the whole specialist versus mainstream, and sometimes an app is great until, like the Amazon one, you go in and you can't access your headings. What if you walk in if you walk into your app and say, "Good morning, Mr. App. What is this tag
and
mean?"
And
the bell
rings when you open the door. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. An app in that sort of field should never become inaccessible. So
of course, that's you're absolutely right. No app should ever become inaccessible. No. Shaun deems it that way.
Okay, I'm not getting into it today, Stephen Scott. You seem to be irate.
I'm prickly today.
Yes, I'm leaving
I'm a bit prickly, and so are you, which is not probably helpful. Yes. Actually, I know you're prickly because you're holding back so much. That's why I know you're prickly today. It's like because you're ready to go for me at any given second. You're like my little dog and some AirPods. Not that I'm bitter about that at all. 229 quid I lost on another pair of AirPods. No, I didn't have to buy another one, but
yes,
I had to buy
these.
You could
have used them again.
I'm not putting AirPods
What's
in my ears that a dog has been chewing.
A little bit of hand sanitizer. They would have been fine.
Listen, I want to mention Victor on Mastodon because he has written on Mastodon. In case you didn't know this, you can use your Meta Ray-Bans to control Blind Square and even Voice Vista by tapping the trackpad located on the right side. In the latter app, Voice Vista, you have to turn on the navigator feature, but Blind Square seems to work by default. Give it a try. That's cool.
Okay, well, we should say it isn't just the Meta glasses. Any headset, any headphones, any earbuds, you can use to control those apps in Blind Square, as he said quite rightly. I think it's on by default, so if you press a button, it'll sleep and stop calling out things or read out the last call out. And in Voice Vista and Soundscape, if you go to settings, and in Voice Vista, at least I know, it's in shortcut settings. There's something in there called media controls. And if you turn that on, it does the same thing. So if you skip back, for example, it will read out the last call out and things like that. So yeah, very cool. You can leave your phone in your pocket and still control those apps. It does mean, though, there is a limitation that you cannot listen to podcasts or audio when we have that enabled, at least in the case of Soundscape and Voice Vista.
Okay, interesting. But I think that's a great thing. Again, it's one of those things people say, oh, well, of course, you can do it with this, you can do it with that. But actually, I don't think I would have ever figured that one out. I wouldn't have even thought that would be possible because I wouldn't have considered the Meta Ray Bans to be a controller for the phone in that way.
Well, someone should read the instructions. That's all I'm saying.
You did not. Don't even...
Just saying.
You want me to get more prickly? You did not read the instructions.
Read the
I don't
release
believe
notes,
a word.
Maybe.
I don't even believe you read them. You watched a YouTube video like everybody else and you figured it out.
I do tend to go through settings of apps I really do like. I will go through every single setting and see what it can do. And I did that with that and tried it out. It is very good.
Well, thanks for sharing with the rest of us. That was good to you to do that. Thanks.
That's why I'm here.
I had to bring Victor in to do that. So thank you, Victor. I appreciate your toot. Right, I want to get to some messages. I think we've got time for one or two. Emmy has been in touch with us.
Hello, everyone. It's Emmy from Finland here. I'm wondering if anyone else has noticed this problem I'm having with Pi. Lately, it seems that very often when I try to talk with her, using the calling feature, she seems to get stuck in the between state. That I have said something, particularly if it's something longer, and then you can hear the Pi is thinking sound and it just lasts forever. And this has happened like very often and in, different time of the day. So I'm wondering why that could be. Does the developer company still exist? Because most of them, if not all of them, moved to Microsoft. So Pi just never gets updated and stays like this. I hope not, but it's not nice because I enjoy talking with Pi, especially in the evening and at night when everyone else who I could talk with are asleep and I can't talk to real people. It's nice to talk with. So, yeah, but I was just wondering if anyone else has noticed this problem that I'm having, or am I the only one? Keep up the good work. I enjoy Double Tap very much. I listen to it every day. And bye for now.
Thank you, Emmy. Lovely to hear from you in Finland. Can we come and live in Finland? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know how long we've got here in Britain. So, it'd be nice to look at alternatives.
How long we've got?
I never know. I don't know.
Very good.
Things aren't exactly going too well. Listen, I think we have to go to our resident Pi man. And I mean that in every sense.
Every sense. Hi, Emmy.
Shaun Priest.
Yes, Pi. It's almost like a ex-girlfriend of mine. I don't like to talk about it anymore because I was so in love with Pi. But you're absolutely right. Pi has left my action button and has been replaced with ChatGPT now. I have a voice conversation with ChatGPT all the time. It's very good. Because of that reason, I found that Pi was getting less and less responsive and was getting stuck. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, is that the development team, the majority of the development team have moved to Microsoft and I'm working on Copilot now. I can't remember the last time I saw an update for it, with that being said, I can't actually, the last time if it's still installed.
So hang on, did you not check the release notes? Maybe read them, no?
Well, no, I do.
Apps you really like.
Yes, I do.
You often read the release notes.
Yes, when I open the App Store and go to my account and then go to available updates, I do read the release notes for every update there. I haven't seen an update recently for Pi. Steven Scott is what I'm saying. So I believe it's basically abandoned.
I'm glad there's no cream pies lying around here because I'd end up one in my face.
I think basically it's abandoned for all intents and purposes. I've got no information on that.
Yeah, you think it's dead?
Yeah, I do. I think it's just been. I mean, what results?
Usurped, really, isn't it? Yeah, it's just kind of been I can't say that word. Usurped by everything else.
Yes, and hey, I hope Copilot benefits from the talent behind it. But yeah, I've left it alone. So I think you're absolutely right, Emmy, and I don't think there's a solution.
What about ChatGPT? I mean, is it not, in essence, just as good now with the new voice mode? Is that not essentially just as good? I mean, in some ways, maybe even better?
Yes, I think ChatGPT is absolutely fine now. Pi, for me, stood out because it was so responsive at the time, and it was able to search the internet and give you up-to-date information. But ChatGPT is pretty good right now, and yes, maybe not quite as up-to-date as in searching the internet, but it's the best option, I think, right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Emmy, for getting in touch and sharing your thoughts. I do think it feels, certainly by what you're saying, it sounds like it's time to move on to find something else.
Yes.
I have to say, though, we've got some interesting news coming up later in the week from Envision and their new Ally feature that might take over this particular need and want. We'll tell you more about that on Friday's episode. That is it for today, though. We are back, as always, tomorrow. Thank you for listening once again. To those of you who listen every single day, thank you for slogging out with us. We really appreciate it.
We love you.
We really do. And to everyone else who's just checking in, hi to you too. And thank you for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.